morning, welcome back to the Knitting Expat Podcast channel. My name is Mina and this is episode 154, 55, I don't know, something like that. 150 something of the Knitting Expat Podcast. My name is Mina and I'll be your host today, and I will be joined for part of this podcast by my daughter Layla. Can you say hello?
Hello.
Look at this. Let's move you over a little bit. There we go. She's colouring right now.
No, I'm not colouring. I'm writing names of you.
Are you writing names?
I'm writing the names, but what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. So she's taking notes on what I'm saying. So, show notes by Layla today. I'm actually only going to be filming the first part of the podcast today. Today's Monday, the 20-something of November, 22nd, 23rd of November, something like that. 23rd. And I'll be filming the rest of it tomorrow. The reason why I'm filming some of it today with Layla, who isn't normally in like a full podcast, is because a lot of the finished objects that I have to share today are to do with her. So I thought it'd be nice to have her here to talk about it. So while she's still taking notes, I will show you some of the finished objects that don't involve her. The first one is a big one, is my crochet blanket is now officially finished. I still need to weave in a couple of ends, but it's basically the last end. I'm sorry. I was covering her book. Oh my goodness. But this is basically finished now. I know the last time I showed it I said it was done, but then, and that was when it was here where this marker is, but then I added all of that to it now as well, and this blanket is now pretty huge. It's taller than, it's longer than I am tall, so when I hold it up it's above my head before it hits the floor. So it's really big.
Mommy,
And it's, yes, honey.
Can I show the camera? Lammy.
In a minute. You need to put your pen away first because I don't want you to draw all over Lammy. Yeah, and the whole point of this blanket, I wanted it to be...
Put it away, Mummy.
All right.
I got to put it there.
All right, can you wait for Mummy to finish talking first and then you can show Lammy? I'll tell you when, okay? The whole goal for this blanket was to knit a blanket large enough to cover a single bed, or I guess, or a twin bed, I guess you would call it. So yeah, this blanket's now big enough, it will cover Layla's bed. So we need to go down and put this on your bed later.
It's for my bed.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I've made it for you.
Oh.
If you don't want it on your bed, we can have it on the sofa for when you want to watch TV and stuff.
I think I want it on my bed.
You want it on your bed?
It could be my blanket.
Yeah, because it's nice and warm and snuggly.
I'm cold.
You're cold? Okay. But yeah, I started this blanket when Layla was only maybe 3 or 4 months old.
Look at it again.
You want to do it again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
And
cool.
now she's almost 4 and it's finally finished. Yeah, I've had long breaks of knit from working on this. It's a crochet granny stripe blanket. It's a very simple pattern. I had long breaks of not working on it, and
I can see.
in fairness, I think I probably knit, I keep wanting to say knit, but I think I crocheted probably about half the length of this blanket.
Kids, Lammy, hi.
Yeah.
Lammy's cold.
Okay.
Me and Lammy are cold.
All right. I think I probably crocheted half of that blanket in the last 2 months alone. So.
Lammy,
Alright, okay.
Lammy's okay.
Alright.
Only cold.
I use mostly fingering weight yarn. There is some hand spun in there. There's some sport weight and even some DK.
Lammy's okay cold.
Alright, honey. And I used a 3.5mm hook, I think. Or 3.7. Yeah, Layla, wait a second. 3.5 or 3.75mm hook. I think that's an E hook. Whatever an E hook is, I think that's the one that I used. I'm sorry, I'm not a crocheter, so I don't really remember. It's the red one by Clover, if that helps at all. Layla, can you stop shaking the table, please?
I'm trying to.
Alright, so that was my first finished object. And let's move on to Layla's finished object. Do you want to show them Lammy now? Put the lid on. Put the lid on your pen, please, remember?
I need to like on.
Okay. So Layla has for the longest time had Lammy wrapped up in a red cape that she had, and she refused to take the cape off, and then the cape would keep coming undone, and she'd wake up in the middle of the night, come crying into our room for us to fix Lammy's cape, or she called it her blanket, And so I was like, okay, enough's enough, because this is ridiculous to be losing sleep over a cuddly toy. So I asked her if she wanted me to knit Lammy a sleeping bag, and she said yes. And so Layla helped me pick out some yarn for Lammy. You said this was Lammy's favourite colour.
Yeah.
This sort of like pinky red colour. And so she picked out this yarn, and I knit a sleeping bag for Lammy. Shall we take Lammy out so we can show them how it works? Can we take Lammy out? Lammy, I believe, was a gift from... Lammy's gone slightly pink from being wrapped up in that cape for so long. Don't know if you can see. She's a slightly different colour on her body compared to her head, which is quite cute.
She's so pinky.
Yeah. I think Lammy was either a gift from my friend Jo or from Grace. I can't remember. One of them gifted Layla Lammy, and the other one gifted her a llama, and I can't remember which was which now. But it was around the same time, which is why I can't remember. And anyway, Layla is obsessed with Lammy. Lammy is like her favourite toy. Lammy has to go to bed with her every night. And Lammy goes most places with us, let's be honest. And if there's no Lammy, Layla gets very upset, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I had a fair amount of yarn left over, and the yarn I used was a sport weight yarn held double. So I had a fair amount of yarn left over, and Layla said she wanted a matching sleeping bag with Lammy. Well, that's not really possible, is it? Because there's not enough yarn to make you a sleeping bag from one skein. So I said instead that I could make her a matching hat with Lammy with the same yarn. Do you want to try it on? Show the camera. And she wanted cat ears on her, so I just did a one like this.
And I want to show the camera
Yeah.
what I could do.
Yeah.
I do.
Oh, you're hiding? There she is. Oh, she got there. She likes playing this game with her hat. So that was that one. I didn't really follow a pattern. I think I used 4.5mm needles with as a US size 7 sport weight held double, and I think I cast on 80 stitches or 84 stitches. And she's taking notes again. And just knit until it was like 6 inches long, I think.
Enough space for all of my notes now.
I don't know. Well, I don't have anything else at hand for you to write on right now.
I'm
You can remember in your head.
No.
No.
I'm going to go get one more paper. I could like look.
Alright, leave your pen here. You don't need to take your pen with you. I think I knit it for about 6 inches length or something like that, and then just did a 3 needle bind off on at the top, so I didn't do any crown decrease. It's a really simple hat pattern and really easy. Then made up patterns is going to be the theme of today's episode, I will be honest, because most of the things I have to show you do not have a specific pattern for them. I just made them up. And then Layla had been asking for mittens. I know I mentioned this in the last podcast, that she came home one day and was saying that a few of the other children in her class had mittens and she didn't have any. She was sad about it and that she wanted rainbow mittens. So we went stash diving. She picked out some yarn which I showed. We ended up switching the yarn for something else. Still hand spun, but a different hand spun. And it's just the one. Yes?
I could get some paper from this, and I could write all the names.
Well, you can just write inside that book, okay? Well, this is a sticker book, honey. This isn't a writing book. It's a colouring book as well. Oh, you want to write it in here?
I want to.
All right. Here you go. All right. So I knit her these mittens, and there we go. Let me show you, hold it up. So this is knit out of 3 strands of yarn held together. So one strand is the rainbow gradient. The other strand is a light grey, and the rainbow and the grey were my hand spun, and they were about fingering weight. And the third strand was a sport weight, just a white sport weight yarn that I had in my stash. I had to do a bit of colour management to make sure we got all the colours of the rainbow on each mitten, and I did them in opposite directions, but I really love how these turned out, and they're the perfect size. I just measured her hand and kind of winged it. I think I cast on, I think I used 4mm needles, so these are pretty dense mittens, dense fabric. I used 4mm needles, that's a US 6, and I believe I cast on 24 stitches in total. 24 stitches. And then kind of just winged it from a just basic mitten anatomy and just did it to her measurements on her hand. I knit these up in one evening. They're really quick. Do you want to show them how they work? You can put them on.
Can I put the other one?
You can do it yourself. All right, you do it yourself. And yeah, she really likes them. She wears them at preschool. Do you need help or are you okay? She can do them herself. I noticed her do them herself in the car the other day.
Could you do the other?
Alright, I'll help you now. But yeah, let me show the camera. And they fit her perfectly.
I want to show them.
Wow, there they are.
And take them.
You want to take them off now? Alright.
Yes.
And anyway, so I posted a photo of them on Instagram the other week. Layla, can you stop shaking the table? Sorry about the camera shaking. She keeps shaking the table and so the camera shakes. So I posted about these on Instagram the other week, and my sister-in-law, so Perry's sister, messaged me to ask if I'd be willing to make a pair for Josh. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So she measured his hand, and then using a similar method, I whipped up these little guys for Josh. His hand's obviously a lot smaller. He's a year younger than Layla. And I just used worsted weight, held single with 4mm needles, and I used the same same stitch counts, 24 stitches, and then winged it there again based on his measurements, a pair of mittens for him. Hopefully they fit. I haven't obviously given them to him yet because we're not seeing anybody right now because of lockdown. And then I had plenty of yarn left over from that skein, and so I whipped him up a little hat. I think this is following the star hat pattern, which is my one of my designs, but I did a different crown decreases because I was too lazy to whip up the actual pattern to look at the crown decreases. But it still has a sort of star shape in the crown decrease. I'm not sure how well you can see that there, but it's just not the same as what's in the actual pattern itself. So that's the little hat for Joshy. Do you want to try on the hat?
No, thank you.
No? Okay. That's something new that she started doing when she doesn't want something. She'll just go, no thank you. It's really cute.
And a tie.
You've been very polite recently, haven't you?
Tie.
You want to try it on? You take your hat off. You can't wear it on top of your hat. That's silly.
Yeah.
Go on, you're going to try it on?
Huh?
Well, you drew in your hand, didn't you?
Yeah.
Alright. Well, let's put your hat on. Well, not your hat, it's Joshy's hat. There we go. Let's fix that bit there.
Joshy doesn't have any ears on.
No, his one doesn't have ears.
Does he doesn't want ears?
No, I don't think he wants ears.
I think
It's a good fit, isn't it?
is it good to fit for me?
Yeah, so I think it'll be a good fit for Joshy.
I think it's not too hard.
No, it's good.
Yeah, it's good for me.
Yeah, but we're going to give it to Joshy, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So those are all the kiddie knits that I've been working on recently, and yet again, like I said, because I was too lazy to pull up the actual pattern, I didn't follow a pattern for this. I cast on 84 stitches and winged it again, but I knew the texture pattern from the hat pattern I wanted to use, but I winged the actual shaping and everything based on that. The other finished object I have to show you is unblocked, and not on blockers at all. But these are a pair of socks that I knit for myself. These are going to be my quote-unquote Christmas socks for this year. I didn't have the energy to come up with a new design this year. I wanted to, but it just didn't happen, which is fine. There's always next year. And so this is out of Turtle Pearl Yarns. Layla, stop shaking the table, please. Turtle Pearl Yarns, who are a Canadian dyer. They dye self-striping yarns, and they come in like 50 gram, 250 gram skeins. So they are dyed to match perfectly. And this one is in the Rainbow Bright colorway, and for those of you who don't know, Rainbow Bright was a TV show back in the 80s or early 90s. I was obsessed with it. I loved it. I've loved rainbows apparently ever since I was a little girl, so unsurprising really. And so yeah, knit these up, and now that Layla's gone, I knit her a pair for Christmas, but I will show you those tomorrow because I don't want to show them now because then she'll see. Anyway, so this is just my basic vanilla sock pattern. I have two vanilla sock patterns on Ravelry at the moment. One is free, which has a very sort of generic short row heel included. And then one is a paid for pattern, which is, I think that one's called Mina's Vanilla Sock Recipe. And that one has my actual heel pattern that I use all the time in it. And it includes my mini heel flap adjustment and German short row heel, which is the one that I use all the time. And the reason why it's a paid for pattern is because this is my heel that I developed myself. It comes with a tutorial on how to knit the heel. So yeah, and it's only a couple of pounds, so it's not that much. But yes, so that's just my vanilla sock pattern. I do 64 stitches for my socks for anyone who is curious. Okay, I have one more finished object to share with you, and this is one inspired by a post I saw on Instagram by a knitter and designer, called Layla Raven. That's her Instagram name, is Layla Raven. Oh geez, I'm trying to get this in properly. All right, are you going to show it? I did some knitted lights.
Could I make it flash?
Okay, yeah, it comes with a USB plug, so it's plugged into my computer right now.
Is it come over?
Okay, and Layla loves pushing the buttons to make the different settings come on. Well, there you go, she likes the flashing lights. I only have it on one needle right now, but I will move some of the stitches over and it will be kind of like a cross pattern. I just need to figure out the best way to hang it up. I know I'm probably thinking like there's command hooks and stuff, but I just need to figure out the best way. We don't have any command hooks right now, and I need to figure out where I'm going to hang it, where I have access to a plug socket and all of that sort of jazz. But yeah, so that's another thing that I knit recently. I say knit with quotation marks because it's knitting with wire is definitely not the easiest thing in the world. Layla Raven or just Layla on Instagram, she's posted she's written a couple of posts about this now, and she's posted her instructions and what size needles and length of wire and lights and all of that stuff that she used on her Instagram. So I highly recommend you go and check that out. If I remember, I will link her Instagram below the video in the description box. If not, you can go to my Instagram, find the post where I have this, and I have her tagged in it. I know it's a slightly roundabout way of getting there, but if I forget to tag it, Layla, if I forget to tag it below, you can find it that way. Layla, honey, can you go pick that up, please? What you dropped on the floor. But I did mine slightly differently than how she's posted it, so I will quickly run through what I did. I used 15mm straight needles because that's all I had. I didn't have any other smaller sizes. I think she uses 8mm, so I only had 15, so that's what I used. I used the same length of wire that she recommended, which I think is 66 feet, so about 20 meters. And mine's a copper wire with warm lights. I think she has like a silver wire with white lights, whatever, but it's the same sort of thing. And I did mine in garter. I think she did hers in stockinette, and I cast on 18 stitches, I think, because I have a larger size needle, whereas I think she cast on a few more stitches than that. But it worked out perfectly. It's almost a perfect sort of square piece of knitted wire lights. And yeah, I just need to figure out where I can hang it up so that it's actually got an attachment to a plug socket nearby. It's a USB socket plug thing. It's actually... Oh, go on then, you can go to the toilet. Toilet dramas. It's funny, she always announces it, but she can do it herself. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up now, to be honest, because this is the end of the finished object section, and I'll be back tomorrow to talk about whips, plans, Vlogmas, and all the other sort of things that have been going on, just because right now with her around it's a little bit distracting and I can't talk in too much detail. But I did want to do a little bit today, mainly because of the things that I've knit for Layla, go to preschool with her, so I wouldn't have them on hand tomorrow to talk about them with you. We've got to go clean the car out because it's a state, and we've got Layla a new car seat now because she's outgrowing her old one, which is so sad because I love her car seat, but she's a big girl now and she needs a new car seat. And my last shipment of books arrived today. Actually, that's what you guys are sat on. You're sat on one of the boxes with the last batch of books in. So I need to go through and sort all of those out and make sure everything's okay with those and get the last lot of books shipped out, etc, etc. And yeah, which is really exciting. So I'm hoping to have the rest of the books all shipped out by the next couple of, like either tomorrow if I can or Wednesday at the latest. And yeah, are you gonna come say goodbye?
Goodbye.
Yeah, we're gonna go clean the car.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're gonna need to have lunch first, don't we? Are you getting hungry?
No.
No? You sure? It's lunchtime.
I'm sure I don't.
Alright. Alright, well I guess I'll see you guys in a few seconds. For you, for me it'll be tomorrow.
Bye.
See you later.
See you later.
Alright. Hi guys, so welcome back. It is now Tuesday, the next day. For you guys it's probably just a couple of seconds. But anyway, so now it's Tuesday the 24th of November. And I realised, after I filmed yesterday's segment that you'll have already seen, I completely forgot to introduce myself properly, and so I thought I'd do that now. Whenever I film with Layla, it's always a bit distracting and I always forget half of whatever it is I wanted to say. So, hi, my name is Mina and I go by Knitting Expat online. You can find me on Instagram as Knitting Expat. You can find me on Ravelry as Mina Phillip. I also sell my knitting patterns on Ravelry as Knitting Expat Designs, and you can also find some of my patterns available on Etsy, and my Etsy shop is Mina Makes. And I also sell other things on Etsy as well. I sell greeting cards and note cards and stuff with my watercolor paintings on them. I think I have a couple of originals up for sale as well, and also my ebook, or my book Cows, that I published recently. The ebook is also available on Ravelry and Etsy. I did have physical pre-order copies available for a while. That's now stopped. I've got the last batch of books in, so I need to get these sent out, and then once all the orders have been sent, I'll see what I have left, and then I'll put up a ready to ship listing in my Etsy shop probably early next week at this point, for ready to ship books. So those will basically ship within a few days. But once these books sell out, I do not know if I'm going to have more books, or when I will get more books. I was thinking about having another pre-order in the new year, but it just depends on demand nearer the time and whether or not I sell whatever I have left over of the books that I've ordered this time round. So there's no guarantee in that regards either. So those are the places you can find me, and I guess we better jump right back into where we left off yesterday. So I think the last finished object I showed you yesterday were these socks that I knit for myself out of turtle pearl yarns, and I had mentioned briefly, I kind of whispered it so you may or may not have caught it, but I knit a pair for Layla as well. So we have matching mummy and baby, mummy and toddler, mummy and child pairs of socks. And I didn't want to mention this yesterday because she doesn't know that I've knit her a pair, and I wanted to keep it as a surprise for her Christmas stocking. So that's going to be that. That's the last finished object really that I have to share with you. And so now we can move on to works in progress / needle adjacent projects. So first things first, I've got another stack of Pinwheel squares to share with you. Now the Pinwheel scrap blanket is one of my designs that I have available for sale. It's designed for fingering weight yarn. I am doing a modified DK / worsted weight version by holding fingering weight double. I'm using slightly larger needles and cast on 20 stitches. I think the pattern tells you to cast on 30, but it's totally adaptable. The whole point and the way it's written is that you can cast on as few or as many stitches as you'd like. I know some people have taken the pattern and they've just done one giant pinwheel square and that's the blanket. They haven't done a lot of blocks, they're just on one big block. They cast on like 150 stitches and just do one giant block, or cast on however many you want. So like the pattern is just a starting point. So yeah, I've been doing these blocks. There's one, I think I am now about 19 or 20 blocks away from however many I wanted. So this pinwheel block actually is it's the leftover rainbow yarn from Layla's Mittens that I made her. So I made her a block out of that. So this is all my own handspan. There's this one. I really like how colourful this one turned out. Trying to remember what yarn I used here. I think this is self-striping yarn that I held double, so it kind of created a fun effect. Some more here. This one was, the yarns in this top section were from a handspun project sweater that I did, and this one was from a different project that I did. So yeah, I try to make sure that, you know, pretty much all the yarns that I use are yarns that I've used in projects, so they have meaning for me. So yeah, they're really fun. There are some duplications in here with some of the other blocks, but that's fine. This one is pretty special. This is lots of the yarn that I used. This block and this block are all yarns that I used for the cows project as well, which is really fun. So I can look at this and pick out and be like, oh, this was that one and this was that one, and it's just really nice that I have these in blocks as well. And this one, I think this one has a lot of duplication in it, but it's got some hand spun and stuff that I knit Layla with, or things that I knit Layla with out of in there as well, so that was really special. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 here. So I think, yeah, like I said, I think I have 19 blocks left to knit. I wanted to do, I think I've got 40 now, or 41, and I wanted 60 blocks to make her blanket. So yeah, I'm low on scraps right now because I made scrappy advent calendars out of all of my scraps and sold them, so now I don't have that many scraps. I mean, I'm starting to build it up again with like the knitting that I'm doing and stuff, but I haven't got enough yet to knit another block, so it will probably be a while before I amass a little bit of stash of scraps to be able to knit some more blocks, so that's fine. My goal was really to have it done by the time she turned 5. I think that was my goal, and she's going to be 4 in February, so I have time before we have to worry about that. So I guess we'll move on. Yeah, well, I guess we're on works in progress now. I'm a little bit out of it today. I had so after we finished the podcast filming the section yesterday, I mentioned that we were going to go and clean the car, so we did a few other things at home in the house first. Layla had lunch, etc., and then we went out to clean the car, and within a few minutes I managed to have an accident, so I'm a little bit sore. I'll talk more about that later, but yeah, so oh, it was yeah, not my finest moment, let's just say. Anyway, I started a new pair of socks, and this is we've just got the same contrast yarn that I used for these socks. I just had extra, so I used it for the cuffs of the sock, and I'm doing it's a bit hard to tell right now because I've only just started, but I'm doing the Yorkville sock pattern on these socks, and the yarn I'm using is by Hue Loco, and it's the Stardust colorway. It's a really beautiful colorway. It's one of, I think it's one of Nicole's original colorways, although one of her early ones that she did, and Nicole is the dyer behind Hue Loco yarns. Pretty sure I got this yarn at Indie Untangled a couple of years ago now, like it's quite a while ago, back before they moved to their new location, so it's like 3-4 years ago now. Now somehow I managed to get myself in a tangle. I'll fix that later. Anyway, so just started on those, so that's just some more easy knitting. I wanted to do something with a pattern because I've just been doing vanilla socks, and having said that, actually I've really not knit that many socks this year. I was looking at my spreadsheet with all my knitting stats that I keep track of throughout the year. This pair of socks will only be, I mean, I don't count kids socks to my tally, I only count adult socks. Once I finish those, I'll have only knit 16 pairs of socks this year, which I know to a lot of people will sound like a lot of socks to have knit in 1 year, but I don't compare myself, I try not to compare myself to other people. I compare myself to my own sort of previous what's the word, projects, and how much I'd knit in the past compared to now. And this year I really haven't knit that many socks. I can't remember how many I knit last year. I don't think it was a huge amount either, but I know in previous years I've knit like upwards of 40-50 pairs of socks in a year. There was that one year, that one crazy year, where I knit I think something like 95 pairs of socks in a year. That was ridiculous. Those of you who remember that year will remember why. Oh, that year was crazy, or at least the beginning of that year. That month was crazy. Anyway, so that's what I'm working on right now. My standard sock needles are 2.25mm or US size 1s, and I at the moment I'm really loving the Chiagu red lace, these ones for my sock knitting. I really like them. I actually prefer these for pretty much all my knitting right now. I have an interchangeable set, and I have a bunch of the sock needles, and I have a few of the fixed circulars as well, which I really like. I also really like hires. I have 2 of their interchangeable sets, the 5-inch and the 4-inch in the sharps. I really like those for like general knitting, and they used to be my go-to for sock knitting as well, but I find the cables kind of like curl back up on themselves a lot, and it was just really annoying. And just the way I tension my yarn and hold my needles, all of my sock needles were slightly bent after a while, so I just prefer the Chiagis right now, and so that's kind of what I use predominantly. I thought I would mention that since I always get questions about what needles I'm using for my socks. Next up in works in progress, I don't know if I shared this with you last time or at what point it was last time when I shared it with you, but it really hasn't changed much in the last little while. Last month or so I haven't really touched it, and that's my sweater design project. I'm still at that point where I'm planning on now picking up and doing sleeves, and then going back and finishing the body, because I want to make sure I don't run out of yarn for the sleeves. But I still need to sit down and work out the calculations for the sleeve cap and the short rows and stuff like that. I just haven't had the brain space to sit down and do that yet, because most of this month has been taken up with book stuff, and the end of October was taken up with all the prep for book stuff. And so yeah, it's just been a little bit overwhelming. I will be honest, a lot of the last couple of weeks has been taken up with packaging and shipping and packaging and shipping and signing books and packaging and shipping books. So it's been a little bit, in a good way, it's been overwhelming, because I wasn't expecting things to go as well as they did. So I didn't anticipate the amount of books I was going to have to deal with. So like I said, all positive, like definitely not complaining at all. But just to put it in context, this morning Perry printed off the last of the shipping labels, because his printer deals better with printing on stickers than mine does. I upgraded, I ordered stickers to have labels printed on, because I was like, this is getting ridiculous with the amount of tape I was going through. And so he finally printed off the last batch of labels this morning for the last bunch of books to go out. And he asked me, is that the last of it? I was like, yeah. And he was like, yes, Dobby is free. And like ran down the steps. So yeah, it's kind of like dominated a lot of our lives recently. Like the books have just been taking over the dining table and stuff. But like I said, not complaining, all good problems to have. But I just, as a result, I haven't had brain space to deal with any other projects. So this is the sweater project. It's nicely textured. It's DK, Rambouillet, and yeah, I think it's just Rambouillet. This is the DK yarn. It's the Pishkoon DK in the Sinopa colorway, and the yarn is by Farmer's Daughter Fibers. Yeah. And this is her 100% Montana and Wyoming Rambouillet. It's really beautiful purple. And then the grey is a Suri Alpaca silk base. It's her Odang base, and this is in the Paul Newman colorway. So it's really interesting that these two colors together, let me just pop that up like that, when held together in a project, give that color. It's really interesting because it's not the same at all. Like it's completely toned down and muted out that purple, and it's almost made it a bit more of like a blue tone purple rather than a warm tone purple, like cool tone. That grey is just really cooled it down and adjusted the colour a little bit, which I think is really fun. That's that project. This is on also my Chiagis. These are my interchangeables. I think it's 4.5mm, so US size 7s for that project at the moment. So that's been a long-standing WIP. I cast that on in the middle of October, so I guess it's not been that long really. It's been just over a month now, but I haven't worked on it for the last couple of weeks, so, or more actually. So yeah, I really need to get back to that. My plan is, if not the end of this week, then early next week, I'll have had time to sit down and work out the sleeve calculations and be able to just get on with it. So yeah. Another thing that I did the other day was sit down and wrote out a list of everyone that we needed to sort out Christmas presents for this year. So it's been a bit late to the game, but 3 of my friends in the last year have had babies. So 2 of them, or one's just turned 1 and the other one's turning 1 in December, and the 3rd one was only born in September. So I've decided I'm knitting them all baby sweaters for Christmas / birthday presents. So, and I'm gonna put it together with a book, I think, and then send that off to my friends for their kiddos. They all have boys as well, ironically. Not ironically, just funnily enough, they all have boys. So I pulled together some yarns. I went through my stash and like picked out what I had to knit them all sweaters for Christmas. So let me just get myself sorted here. So the first one I cast on this one yesterday. How cute is this little tiny sweater? Look how cute and tiny this one is. This is actually for the oldest of all the three. He's already one. He was one in October. So this is a 1 to 2 year size. So I'm knitting him the Little Nugget pullover. And I'm using this yarn, which is by Leading Man Fibre Arts, and the colorway is Independent Will. It's on their fingering weight, 436 yards and 100 grams, and it's just a general 75-25 superwash merino nylon blend. Why is this not focusing? There we go. So yeah, I'm just knitting that pattern, and I just got to the sleeve separation, knit a few rounds, and then put it down. And then what I did was I cast on another sweater, but I'll show you that one in a second. But in the same project bag, because I'm also going to knit another little nugget sweater, this time for Layla, because she doesn't have one in her current. I realized a lot of her sweaters are starting to get small for her, like the hand knit ones, because most of the ones that she has I knit for her in the 2 to 4 year size, and she's now going to be turning 4 soon, and she only has one sweater in the 4 to 6 year size. I guess technically 2. One I kind of just made up on the go. I don't have a pattern for it, but she only has a couple, so I wanted to add more to her wardrobe. And I had 2 skeins of this colorway, which is a specially dyed colorway by my friend Sam, who's the dyer behind Lavender Loon Yarn, and she gifted these 2 skeins to me for Layla, and the yarn is called In the Night Garden. So a couple of years ago, Layla was obsessed with that TV show, In the Night Garden. It was like part of her evening ritual was that we would watch In the Night Garden, and she'd have her milk, and then we'd go do bedtime sort of thing. And so Sam dyed up a colorway based on that show and gifted me a couple of skeins. It took me a while to get around to winding it up and getting it cast on, but I always had the idea of knitting Layla a sweater with it. So now I'm going to be doing her a little nugget sweater as well, to basically upgrade the ones that she already has that are now starting to get a little bit small for her. So I'm going to be casting this on soon. Hopefully I will have time to have it finished for Christmas, but if not, then it could be, I'll hold off and I'll give it to her as a birthday present, so it's not the end of the world. Then the other sweater I cast on, oh, and the Little Nugget sweater is knit using 3.75mm needles, or US 5, so the main size, and then I think a 3.25 or US 3 for ribbing, for anyone who's wondering. And then I cast on another sweater for one of my other friend's kids, and this one, he's the middle one, so his birthday's actually in December. And so I cast on a mix and match sweater for him out of this green tweedy yarn. What size am I knitting? I think I'm knitting in the 12 to 18 months, because he's on the slightly smaller side anyway. He's the slightly smaller child overall. Oh, that was it. I was intending on doing this one with the texture pattern from the mix and match sweater, but I cast this on quite late last night and I just forgot to do it. And then by the time I realized this morning what I'd done, I was already like halfway into the raglan increases, and I just didn't want to bother to rip it out. I'm like, it's fine. It'll just be a plain sweater. That's not a problem. So I've got this one going, and I am alternating skeins because I have 2 of this one, and actually if I have enough, I should have enough left over to do a matching hat to go with it as well. And then I have this skein of this like brown tweedy yarn that was in my stash for a while, and I'm gonna knit my other friend the Fresh Babies sweater in this one, but it's not quite enough yarn. One skein's not quite enough yarn for the size I want to knit for him. So I've actually placed an order with Knit Picks, which is like, I realized when I placed the order, that's like the first time I've bought yarn since January. It's November. I cannot believe it's been since, I haven't bought yarn since Vogue in January when I went to New York. That's like the last time I bought any yarn. So so yeah, unintentional yarn diet this year. It was really funny. I wasn't really intending it to be that way, but I placed an order with Knit Picks for some yarn, and hopefully I picked 2 or 3 different skeins that I thought would match with this, so hopefully one of them will work, and I'll be able to use up the other skeins as like contrast colors and stuff in future projects anyway. I realized I don't have a huge amount of yarn in my stash anymore that would be suitable for baby knits in a large enough quantity, because I'm very much of the mind that if I'm knitting something for someone else, especially someone who's not a knitter, for their children, I don't want to force someone to have to hand wash. You know, I don't want to like force that on somebody unless I know they're willing to do it. And even then, when you've got a small kid and when you're a new parent or whatever, like that's not really the sort of thing you want to deal with. I know I didn't. But at the same time, I'm a knitter and I'm willing to hand wash stuff, so I personally don't mind, but I don't want to push that on anyone else. So I always want to make sure whatever I knit for children is going to be superwash at a minimum. It doesn't have to be necessarily acrylic or anything, but at a minimum it has to be machine washable on a gentle cycle or something. So I didn't have any yarn that would match with this that was superwash. So anyway, basically I placed an order for yarn, which should be coming hopefully in a couple of weeks, so I'll have enough time to whip this up. And because it's going to be the smallest one, it shouldn't take me that long at all, but I want to stripe it with the other color, so I don't want to start this until that's here. Doorbell. Okay, door answered. What was that? What was I saying? Anyway, so next up, this one is really needle adjacent. I had this pink sparkly yarn, like bright fuchsia sort of sparkly yarn, from Knit Crate. It's the Uru Yarn Sugared Sport in the ruby colorway. 70% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 10% stellina, and it's 300 yards and 100 grams. I had 2 skeins of this, and I thought it'd be really fun to knit matching hats for Layla and 2 of her good friends. So it'd be one for Layla, one for Sasha, and one for her other friend Ava. So they're all going to have matching sparkly hats for Christmas. So I thought that'd be really fun, and kitty hats whip up in no time. I think Layla's hat I knit up in like an evening, so really quick and easy. So I think 2 skeins of sport weight, and I'll be holding the yarn double because I want the hat to actually be warm. Should whip up quickly enough. And then the last thing I wanted to show you is a needle adjacent project as well, and I haven't actually put it in the project bag yet, but it will nicely lead me on to the next topic of conversation, and that is this yarn. And if I can just turn that around, there we go. So this is 200 grams of a DK weight Skein Queen yarn. I picked this up at Edinburgh last year in 2019, and let me just get the name of it all. So this is her Sonsea base, which is a 70% Corriedales, 30% Polworth, 200 grams or 506 meters in this lovely green color. I don't actually know what the name of the colorway is because it's not on the label, but yeah, beautiful color. It's like one of my favorite sort of like really dark moody green sort of color. And I posted on my Instagram last week about yarns that I picked out, like pairings that I picked out to knit myself and now the cowl from the Cowls book as part of the knit along that I'm posting, and this was one of the pairings and I really liked it. And even though it's low contrast, like when you do the black and white thing on your phone, it's fairly low contrast, but one of my cowls in the book ended up being a low contrast pairing, and I really like how it turned out, so I think I'm gonna like it. And this handspun, this is handspun, this is also about 500 meters of handspun in total. It's a 2-ply, and it's anywhere from like a DK to a fingering weight, so I do need to swatch to see how it looks held single with the other yarn. Otherwise I might have to hold this yarn double, which is fine, and see how that works as well. So you'll see the 4 skeins are all different. So I had 2 braids of fiber that I split in each one into 4 sections, and then I did 2 of these skeins, I think it's this one and this one, where it's just the 2 plies of the same braids plied with itself. So this was 1 braid, this was 1 braid, it's 2 plies from the same braid, and then the other 2 I sort of did 50-50. One, I think this one was a combo spin, so the 2 different braids of fiber were spun, like actually spun together, and then this one I think was the one where I had one ply from one braid and one ply from the other braid, and they were plied together. So it was like an experiment to see how that worked, and I kind of think they almost do like a cute little kind of gradient with each other in terms of like brightness and stuff. So they're going to be knit up in that sort of order, or they might be held double, in which case I'll just mix and match it. It's all the same sort of color family in there. It's just going to be fun. I haven't decided which pattern I'm going to do yet. I'm thinking either the water design, which is, let me show you, I've got the books right here, I can show you what I'm talking about. So I'm thinking either, where is it, either this one, this sort of like really geometric pattern, or what was the other one I was thinking of? I think I was thinking either that or the medallion pattern. Just that one. I wanted something that was more on the geometric side, and less super intricate with the detail, because I didn't want it to get lost in the colourfulness of the yarn, and also the fact that it's low contrast as well. I mean, the other one I was also thinking of was the dragon marks pattern, or even feta, which is the first one. Like, this one's really graphic as well. I might even end up doing that one, just because I think you'll be able to see it a lot better, and it's not gonna, I think anything too detailed is just gonna lose the definition because of the crazy colors in the yarn. But it doesn't mean that it still won't look good in color work. You just have to pick the right pattern. So it's gonna be a bit of swatching to be done with that. I'm hoping to get that cast on soon, even if I don't get a huge amount of knitting on it until the kiddie sweaters are done. Because really, the 3 kiddie sweaters, not counting Layla's one, the 3 that I want to send to my friends, those are kind of like the key things I want to get done to send out before Christmas. That's the plans, and as I said, that swiftly moves us nicely along to knit along news. It's a while since I've had a knit along to talk about. So like I said, I'm hosting at the moment the Cowls knit along. The hashtag is hashtag Persian Cowl. So Persian Cowl, like C-O-W-L, and then K-A-L at the end. If I remember, I'll pop it on the screen. Otherwise, hopefully it'll be in the show notes below this video in the description box. And so you can take part either on Instagram by using the hashtag, or on Ravelry in the Ravelry group. There's a thread in my Ravelry group for the knit along, and it's a chatter and FO thread. Like, it's not like a no chatter thread. You can chat away and share your yarn combinations and all that sort of stuff. And we have a whole host of prizes. They're all listed out in the chat in that thread on Ravelry, and they're also listed out in the video for the launch of the book as well, where I mention about the knit along there as well, and it's in the description box there. So we have lots of prizes from the different yarn dyers who provided yarn for the book as well, which is amazing. So yeah, that's going to be running until the end of January. We'll see how things go. I know a lot of people have ordered the book as their, like, all family members or someone is buying the book for them for Christmas. So we'll see how things go. I might extend the deadline for the knit along to the end of February, just to allow people a little bit more time. We'll just take a view on it when we get to the new year and see how things are progressing with that. And that's the only knit along I'm running at the moment. I will be, excitingly, doing another spin and make along next year. I think the plan is to start that in February. I have 2 co-hosts this year, or next year, for that, and once we have ironed out all of the kinks and the details for that, there'll be a more formal announcement, I guess, about that. But until then, I just wanted to let you guys know that's definitely going to be happening next year, and I'm very excited about it. It's been a while, and we've definitely come up with a few ideas of ways to make it a little bit more interactive this time, and just, you know, make it even better than it was last time. That's it for knit alongs. Oh, so for shipping, and I wanted to give an update on the book. So, like, basically everything's gone out except for the last 50 or so orders are still left to go. My plan is to have those out the door tomorrow morning. I'm going to get the books signed, packaged up, labeled up, and ready to go by the end of tonight, hopefully. and out the door tomorrow, because I really want that stress off, not stress, but I don't want to have to worry about that needing to be done anymore. I want it to be done and out the door and off to you guys, so it has the best chance of getting to you before Christmas. I know some of the ones, some of the early ones that I shipped a couple of weeks ago have already landed in the US, so there's a very good chance, fingers crossed, that things will arrive in time before Christmas. For people abroad, I mean, I don't know about like further than the US, like places, I know I've had some orders from Australia and New Zealand, so I don't know how long it takes for stuff to get there, but typically stuff to the US has arrived within like 1 to 2 weeks at the moment, so fingers crossed. That's also why I really want to get them out the door. Probably from probably from tomorrow, I think I'm going to be or maybe just over the weekend. I haven't decided how I'm going to do this. It's Small Business Saturday this weekend, and I think I'm probably just going to have a sale running for a few days over the weekend in my Etsy shop, and it'll be purely for like my art products. So the greeting cards, the note cards, art prints, like the digital download art prints, and I even have 2 or 3 original paintings up for sale as well. So all of those would be included in the sale. And I think it's going to be 20%, it's just going to be a flat 20% discount across all those things. And I think I'm going to try and have it set up so you don't need to use a coupon code, it's just on sale. So hopefully that will work and there won't have to be a coupon code. So you can check that out from, when should we say, from Thursday? From Thursday, so from Thanksgiving basically, is this Thursday if I'm not mistaken. So from Thursday until the end of the day on Monday. We'll just go through to Monday. And so there'll be a 20% off sale on all my stuff in the Etsy shop. So feel free to check that out if there's something there that you would like. And then yeah, and all of those things are ready to ship as well. So those will all go out next week after the weekend as well. I guess we'll move on to general chit chat and stuff like that. So I guess I should talk about the accident with cleaning the car yesterday. So it's been a long time coming. We've needed to clean out our car for a long time now. It's been getting progressively worse and like full of rubbish and a bit of a dumping ground. So yesterday I finally decided that it's time to clean out the car. It was also good timing because we had to get a new car seat for Layla because she's outgrowing the one that she's been in up until now, and she's now moved up into the next like age bracket for car seats. So it was a bit of a sad day, but her car seat came yesterday, so it was a good time to go and clean out the car and remove her old car seat and all that. So Layla came out with me, and where we live, we basically live at the end of like a cul-de-sac. It's not a through road, so it's actually really safe. There's, you know, cars aren't coming at high speeds down our road, and cars rarely come down our road anyway, especially during the day, because it's a dead end. There's nothing, you can't go past the end of the road. Anyway, so we were out there and she was helping me clean the car. We were just cleaning the inside, so I was just taking all the rubbish out of the car and like tidying up and stuff. And anyway, I took a step, I misstepped, my foot twisted a little bit, and I basically slipped on the curb, like the edge of the curb. I'm naturally very accident prone anyway, so if there's a way I'm going to hurt myself, I'm pretty much going to do it. And it was one of those moments where as I was falling, it felt like the whole thing was happening in slow motion, because I had time to think about, oh my god, this is gonna hurt. This is gonna hurt when I hit the ground, because like I'm falling, and it was literally one of those like full on arms up flailing falls. And yeah, I hit the ground pretty hard. It hurt a lot. And anyway, I called Layla to go get Perry. Bless her, she was so good, and she didn't panic, she didn't freak out. It probably helped that it wasn't like gushing blood everywhere or anything, but she sort of came over, checked I was okay, and then I was like, can you go get daddy? And she was like, okay. And she like ran back to the house and was like pounding on the door, yelling for him. Don't know why she didn't ring the doorbell, because she can reach it, but she was like shouting for him. I'm surprised more of the neighbors didn't come out because of how loud she was shouting. Anyway, he thankfully he heard her over his noise cancelling headphones and came out. But before he came out, one of our neighbors came out from one of the other houses on the street. She came out, and I was just thinking to myself, when I first fell over, my initial thought was, well, thank goodness no one saw. Anyway, so she came out. I was like, oh, I was cleaning the window and I saw you fall over and I just came to see if you were okay. And I was like, great. It's even more embarrassing on top of the fact that I've just hurt myself in a ridiculous manner. It's now even more embarrassing because someone witnessed it. It's fine, like I don't really mind, but it was just in the moment, it was like, great. So that was a little bit embarrassing, but it was fine. In the end, Perry came out, helped me up. I sort of like got myself together again. And then Layla declared that she was bored of cleaning the car and wanted to go back inside. So she went back inside with Perry and I stayed outside and finished cleaning the car, or almost finished cleaning the car. Our cordless vacuum ran out of charge when I had like 1 footwell left to hoover, and it was a bit annoying, but I cleaned most of the car. Anyway, got back inside, took my leggings off. I had really thick leggings on, took my leggings off to survey the damage because yeah, I tried to ignore it and my legs were really beat up. My right leg around the knee is like completely scratched up and was bleeding a little bit, and then my left leg has like had swollen up a little bit on the leg, and it's like this giant bruise on my leg now. So those are still very sore. And I managed, when I fell, I must have jarred something in my like back, like behind my right shoulder blade or something around there, because everything from like here in my neck down to like my elbow really hurts. The only thing I'm really lucky about, because I actually landed on my hands as well. Thankfully my hands are fine. Like I don't have any cuts or grazes or anything on my hands. I really thought I was, when I fell, and my initial thought was like, I thought my hands were bleeding because that's like it felt so painful. But my hands were fine, thankfully. Thank goodness for that. Anything else I could deal with, but my hands are literally my job. So anyway, I'm just a bit sore and achy right now. Like I said, my shoulder, like everything around my shoulder area on my right side is just very sore. I'm taking ibuprofen and stuff, so it should be fine soon. We're still technically in lockdown at the moment in the UK, so not a huge amount has changed since the last time I podcasted. I think the last time I podcasted we were just going into lockdown. So lockdown's due to end next week, fingers crossed all goes well. And there's, you know, at the moment there's been some announcements about what the post-lockdown sort of tier system is going to be. We had a three level tier system in the UK, well in England anyway, pre-lockdown, and they're basically going back to that, but they're reinforcing it, so they're putting more restrictions in place in the different tier levels. And then there's all this talk about like relaxing restrictions a little bit for a few days over Christmas, and they're still trying to like agree what that's going to involve and what those relaxations are going to be, and what the limitations are and all that sort of stuff. So still waiting to hear about how that's going to work out, and then I think in a couple of days we find out which areas fall within which tier level in the country. So previously we were in tier 1, so we had the least amount of restrictions on our stuff because the area we live in is fairly low levels of COVID compared to the rest of the country. So we'll see what we end up in. They're being a lot more strict with the restrictions this time, and sort of like how they are doing the tier system. So we'll see. All in all, looking forward to the new year, and hopefully these vaccines that are coming out right now, there's now 3 potential vaccines, so fingers crossed some of those get approved and they can roll it out. I think the current estimate from our government anyway is that if all goes well, vaccines are approved, they can be produced fast enough, they can be distributed and administered fast enough, then restrictions, things will start going back to normal sort of like around Easter time next year. So fingers crossed. We'll see how that goes, but it's definitely sort of like a light at the end of the tunnel now with this whole situation, so that's good. And yeah, so I'm trying to think what else. Oh, so that was the other thing as well I was going to talk about briefly. So I was having a chat with a friend last night, and it was really nice to catch up with her, and we got to talking about like photos and photo albums and stuff like that. And she was saying how she was going to have an evening with her kids and like organizing photos and putting them into photo albums. And I was jokingly saying, not joking, I was just saying it was quite funny because my mum is doing the complete opposite thing, and she's taking all her photos out of photo albums, putting them into boxes and bringing them to me so I can scan them in and we can have them all digitally rather than having physical photos in photo albums, because they were just taking up so much space. And then my friend was saying that how, you know, well, that's, yeah, but then what do you do with all the digital photos? And I was, well, actually I used to anyway, be really good at getting photo books printed every year for like that year's worth of photos. And I brought one over here to show you. So I would get them printed with blurb. And so they're quite expensive, but I think it's really worth it for like having it in such a compact form. So this is like a year's worth of photos, like it's quite thick. This is 2013, our yearbook of 2013, and it's just really, and it's a large one, it's hefty, and I get them done with blurb. And I just really like the book quality, the way the photos come out. And yeah, so for me it was really important to have something like this. I just sort of fell off the wagon of it after 2013. So this is like one of the spreads, and it's just really fun. I really enjoy doing it, and so I need to really get back to doing it. I've got like 6 years to catch up with, so, and 2020 is coming to an end, so it'd be really good to get back on with doing this. So it's just like photos with friends and travels and stuff like that. So, and the boys are on the back. That's one of my favorite pictures of them when they were little babies. But yeah, so I just wanted to share that in case anyone else was looking for an idea of something like that. And these also make great presents, like if you have the time to, I don't know if you'd be able to get them done in time for Christmas, but these sorts of things, you can get them in different sizes. Obviously I like a quite big size for like nice big photos, but these make really great gifts as well. So yeah, that pretty much covers everything I was going to say. I think, oh, the only other announcement I had is that I'm going to be taking a break from teaching in December. I'm not going to be teaching with Vogue next month. I'm just taking the month off from teaching. Just got a few things coming up with Christmas and things, and I just wanted to focus on a few other work stuff as well. So I've taken the month from teaching, and hopefully I'm going to be back in January, and fingers crossed I'll have some new classes to offer as well, so that'll be exciting. And yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about today. I don't want to take up any more of your time than necessary, so thank you so much for joining me today. If you are new to the podcast, I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much everyone for joining me today. I will hopefully see you soon. Oh, that was it, Vlogmas. I knew I forgot something. So I'm going to be doing Vlogmas, and it's going to be starting next week. I may start a day or two early just because we're going to be doing some Christmassy stuff over the weekend. So I might do a pre-Vlogmas weekend vlog thing and then go into Vlogmas, because I think Vlogmas starts the 1st of December, is like a Tuesday or Wednesday next week. So it's Tuesday next week. So I'll do like a weekend vlog and then start properly on the 1st. So there probably won't be another podcast before the end of the year. So I just wanted to put that out there. I will be doing kind of like a yearly roundup video towards the end of the sometime during December as well. I kind of do this every year where I sit down and I go through my stats for the year of what I've knit and stuff like that. So that's always quite fun to do. It's interesting to look back on as well. What else was I going to say? Yeah, so daily vlogging throughout December. I typically go through to the end of the month, through to the end of December, but we'll see what happens this year. And yeah, even though Christmas isn't going to be quite the what's the word? It's not going to be quite the same as it has been in the past. In past years, it will still be interesting to have this as a record for the future to look back on. And you know, I've always said that as much as I enjoy having an audience and enjoy sharing stuff about our lives and stuff, you know, the real reason I do vlogs and document our lives is for me, is for us as a family to have something to look back on. And if you guys get some enjoyment out of it as well, then that's even, you know, then that's a bonus essentially. But yeah, so I do these vlogs mainly for us as a family. That's always been my predominant like driving force behind doing them. And yeah, and I do look forward to it every year. So yeah, excited about Vlogmas, which is starting soon. So like I said, this is going to be the last podcast for this year. I'm hoping that next year I'm going to be able to stick to a more regular schedule, and yeah, things will be able to get back to normal. I think one of the big reasons why I didn't podcast so much this year was because I was spending so much time working on the patterns for this book, and you know, I didn't want to share the patterns prematurely, so I didn't have a lot that I could share, which is why I didn't podcast as much. But anyway, all that to say, thank you so much. I will see you guys in Vlogmas. All right, take care. Bye.